Hey everybody, what's up? It's John and Phoebe, and we're hanging out here in the outdoor area, about to get ready to start some seeds. And this year we've started a new process called soil blocking, and I'm going to show you kind of some different levels throughout the season of how we do it. And this first one is kind of like a beginner level. This is if you just went to Home Depot, Lowe's, big box store, and got you a bunch of just pre-made stuff, and we're going to mix it together and make soil blocks. And then throughout the season, next video, we'll do a more of an intermediate level where there's some more interesting ingredients, and then finally, when my homemade compost is ready, we'll do the advanced level at the end of the summer season where we get ready for our fall crops, and we'll do that with our own homemade screened compost. So hang around. Here's a little rundown of what I've got so far. I've got a all-natural potting mix as a backup. I've got all-purpose plant food from Job's. I've got garden lime. Of course, I've got our star of our show, the soil blocker, and some water in one of these spray containers. It's always good to have a little Sharpie marker around to write down what you're doing. I've also got some seeds here. I've got some onion seeds to start off from Southern Exposure Seed Exchange. Started using them this year. Perlite, peat moss, and some earthworm castings and compost. All kind of good stuff we're going to put in there. And then, of course, I'm going to put it on this wooden board for today because, hey, that's what I've got. In later videos, like I said, we'll go over different mixes and more advanced mixes, as well as I'm going to try to build some little platforms to put these on, similar to what Eliot Coleman uses. And then we're going to go over some different techniques for doing this throughout the season. But I'm just excited about exploring all the differences and seeing what works. So this is kind of like I said, you just went over to Home Depot or Lowe's and got you just some pre-done stuff, and we're going to mix it up. Alright guys, for our first ingredient we're going to use peat moss, and for this one we're going to use 3 parts of peat moss. So what I do for this Eliot Coleman style recipe is I use the core container as a part, so it'll be 3 parts of peat moss. Alright, so next up is some of our additives that we're going to go ahead and mix with this peat moss early. That way it can be all throughout the mix. So the first thing we're going to do, Phoebe's going to help us out, and she's going to give us 1 scoop of this garden lime. And this is a 2 tablespoon scoop. That was good. And she'll mix it all over that stuff. Good job. And now this next one is like a all-purpose granular fertilizer. And we're going to let her do 2 scoops of that.
2?
Yep.
Of this?
Yep. There's 1. And 2.
I know what 2 is.
You sure did. And this has got feather meal, bone meal, blood meal, all kind of interesting ingredients that'll help the garden out. Thank you, baby. Alright guys, the next ingredient is perlite. And what this is volcanic rock that has a little bit of moisture in it. And they apply heat to it and it pops like popcorn. And it makes this really interesting kind of crushed up looking, almost feels kind of like styrofoam in a way. So I'm going to let Phoebe put us a cord in there. So this will be 1 part to the 3 parts of peat moss that I have. There you go, baby. You add that in there. Kind of like it's snowing.
Yes.
Good job. Alright guys, now before we mix in our other ingredients, we're going to go ahead and give this a little mix. So Phoebe's going to help me out. We'll just gently mix her up.
Don't forget you have 2.
Yep, I do have 2 here. Kind of like we're at the Chip Chop Flip Flop restaurant.
Chip Chop Flip Flop.
Yeah, you know the little Asian place where they cook in front of you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fun.
Where we went for Coleman's birthday?
That's right.
Because that's his favorite place and I don't like it.
Oh, no, yeah. Alright guys, the next ingredient is going to be our earthworm castings.
Looks like chocolate.
Kind of like coffee, chocolate, something weird like that. Well, this is actually the good stuff. This is
Charcoal.
kind of what they do when they make a worm bin, and they have worms crawling through it and eating up all the stuff, and this is kind of what they poop out. I knew she'd love that one. So we're going to do 1 part, or 1 mason jar, quart of that. Alright guys, the last ingredient to our magical mix here is some compost that we've got. And it's a little bit wet. It came from the store wet, so we're going to try to mix it in there. We may have to do like a ketchup bottle and hit it like that. So go ahead and see what happens with it there. Good job. Yep.
That's what I did with a ketchup bottle.
There you go. I can get one of our sticks up in there and kind of jab it in there. You're doing great. Here we go. We'll try it out here.
Yeah, I'll mix.
Got to jackhammer it. There we go.
And you're putting your hands in poop.
Oh, yeah.
I don't like
Then I'm going to go hug your mom.
No.
Yep.
No.
All right, let's break up all these clumps because we really don't want any clumps when we start our seeds.
I'm not. You are.
Because we want the roots to be able to grow through it really easily. And we don't want any big sticks or clumps or chunks.
There's a stick.
And that perlite, yeah, you can take the individual stick there and we can throw it out. Guys, we want a really good soft medium for these roots to go through.
There's a stick.
Alrighty guys, next up we're going to start adding our water and moistening it. Phoebe, you can go ahead and start pumping it and give it some good sprays. Now this takes more water than what you would think. Traditionally, you would put it in your little flats, moisten it up. But this is going to actually need to be really, really wet. Because the way the soil blocker works is it works with moist peat moss to help hold it together into a block. Alright guys, I brought you in for a close-up so you can see it's really moist and saturated and it's shapeable. So we're going to try this and see if it'll work. Alrighty guys, we're going to start the soil blocking procedure here. And what you do is you get a mound of it that's a little bit deeper than the actual, soil blocker itself. And then we're going to push down.
My head's hot.
Wiggle it back and forth. Oh yeah, it is, isn't it?
Here's the sun.
Yeah, and then we're going to go back and forth, kind of get those corners in there good. Really work it in there and push it really good. Like that. Alright, and now we'll kind of pack the edges to make them nice and even. That way they'll set level. Don't have to do that, that's just an OCD thing of mine. And then what we'll do, I've got this piece of wood that I'm going to use temporarily. So we sit it and we're going to push up on it. And out. My first soil blocks.
4, you mean?
Yeah, my first ones. Yeah, my first set. All right, there you go. Mound it back up on the wheelbarrow. Oh. Yep, and then we'll just kind of mash in there real good. You can wiggle it back and forth. Real. Oh. Good. Now take a look at it and see under there how it's doing. That looks pretty good. That looks really nice. Okay.
Should I do some more?
Nah, it should be good. We'll come try it over here. Now if you'll line it up right next to mine right there.
Right here?
Yeah, that sounds good. Yep. Yep, and then you just push the lever. And kind of, there you go. Good job, look at there. Oh, that's all good. Practice makes perfect. Alright guys, what we have here is 32 plants that will soon become onions. There are 32 blocks of soil that look good. I'm going to label the board and all that. Of course, we'll make a separate video for planting our onions. Also, when you get down to the very bottom, when you get to where you're done, you have a little bit extra dirt. And that's totally fine. I'm going to go throw it in my other garden. Well, guys, there you go. There is soil blocking beginner level from here at the Hallmark House. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something. And make sure you hit the subscribe button below and that little bell thing. And you'll be able to see our upcoming videos where we plant onions and go over all of our crops that we're starting in the months following, leading up to spring. And then also we have, of course, our intermediate and advanced levels of soil blocking that we'll get into in the next season. So stick around.